Hello, Aquarius. Thank you so much, as always, you guys, for being here. All right, Aquarius. So, looking at your second week of December, you pulled Outsider, Release, and Artificial Heart. This one was interesting. So, Outsider is you intentionally taking the outsider's perspective. So, I think some of you may be removing yourself from a situation to gain a different perspective on it because you may have lost some feeling for what you are doing. And there may be an attachment to certain expectations and outcomes, and that's where release is coming through. So Outsider talks about the importance of being the observer in order to gain a very unique perspective that will benefit you. Release. This one says the presence of this card highlights the need to let go, for example, in relinquishing the comfort of old habits or attachments to goals and future outcomes. So there's still an attachment to something, but there may not be any emotion left behind, for you to want to continue. So it's almost like stepping back and going, why am I still doing this if I'm not feeling it? But, for some reason, there's the attachment to it. It says the unpredictability of the future, potential threats to our worldly identity, and our attachment to outcomes can all play a role in holding us back or keeping us blinded to more appropriate opportunities. So it's basically, if you're not feeling it anymore, then there needs to be this look at why you're still attached to it and a need to let it go. But that can only happen through taking the outsider perspective, right? So Artificial Heart, it says, if I don't feel the warmth of the sun, will I blame the sun or myself? And it talks about building oneself to specifications, steeling oneself to adversity. And then it talks about dreaming of electric sheeps. But it talks about wanting to live through our emotions more fully. But by finding refuge in the rational mind, it gives us the illusion of control. So it's like trying to rationalize why you're still hanging on to something that you're not feeling anymore. But the way that changes is by, observing yourself and your emotions to whatever it is that you're attached to. Your rational mind may be telling you, yeah, but I have to keep doing this. But the lack of being able to feel emotionally connected may be changing your viewpoint on whatever it is that you're dealing with right now. But, again, the message there is there needs to be this release of any kind of attachments that you have. But again, that's going to be for those of you who realize that you're just not feeling it anymore. It's like, I'm not feeling it, but I have to keep doing this, but I'm just not feeling it. And then, the question then becomes, how long do you keep doing that before you become emotionally drained by it, right? Very much an Eight of Cups type of feel. So your overall is the Ten of Cups, beautiful, right? The happily ever after. What does that look like for you? And this may be where you're focusing on getting to that ending of all the difficulties and finally reaching that place. We are talking about the ending of a cycle here, and there needing to be, a new beginning within this. But coming from the Ten of Cups, I feel like is a really good foundation to start. So, we're talking about happiness in relationships, happiness within your home, you having everything you feel like you need. I'm telling you, I can't. In the past, the Eight of Cups. So, for some of you, I feel like this is two separate things. You have the foundation of this happiness within your life right now, but you may still be dealing with something that at one point you may have had love for, but now, again, is becoming emotionally draining. And because this is the past coming through, you may be still needing to, find a way forward to move away from this, right? The Eight of Cups, the moon in the background, you don't know what the hell is going on. You don't know where you're going from here. You just know you're done with this. Now, for some of you, it's all about getting to that, complete emotional fulfillment and happiness. But realizing that, there's something that is just not going to give that to you anymore. And it's all about moving on from that, right? The Nine of Pentacles in the present moment. The Nine of Pentacles, this one's interesting when it pops up in situations like this for me, because I always feel like there's this sense of independence and security with yourself. But we're also talking about being independent, removing yourself from any attachments to situations. So we'll see what's going on in your environment here. But this being the present moment is great, especially with the Ten of Cups being the overall. But we're still looking at, a situation that you had to move away from or are still trying to move away from. Oh boy. And, again, going back to what I was saying with the Eight of Cups, right? With the moon, we don't really know where we're going. We don't know what's going to happen next. A lot of times this can indicate the fear of the unknown. But we're talking about, not having clarity here, but there also may be, your own fears and projections that are being put onto the happily ever after that you're seeking. Now, for some of you, it's just, I don't see how it's possible. So moving forward into the future, you may feel confused about where you're going. It's almost like, I thought moving away from this was the right thing to do. Now I'm confused, right? Because you're kind of like on your own here trying to figure things out with the Nine of Pentacles, but there is still this kind of like security. But, and not only that though, but for some of you, right, if we're talking about you reaching that place where you finally have the fulfillment that you're looking for with that Ten of Cups, it may be that you are still dealing with a situation that you're just not feeling anymore. You need to move on. You have the ability to, be independent and kind of like do things on your own, especially if we're talking about removing yourself from draining family situations. The problem here, though, is with the moon, looking at that in future conditions, this is, fearing what's going to happen in the future if you decide to move away from that. Is this the right thing to do, right? It's like being confused. And then not only that, but being confused as to why you're not getting the fulfillment that I feel like you expected with this Eight of Cups. But I'm looking at that Nine of Pentacles, and I feel like in the present moment here, there's this like want to be removed from this because it's not a part of what your happily ever after looks like. Your best path to follow, the Four of Pentacles. Be aware of what you're hanging on to. Immediately is the message with that. And if you are holding things closely to you, especially emotionally, I think there needs to be more of an awareness of why you're doing that. Again, going back to release, what are the things that you're hanging on to, right? And is it helping you get to this emotional fulfillment, or is it just continuing to create this kind of confusion as to, I thought this was it, or, I'm leaving this now because it's not, but I don't know how to get there. You know what I mean? Just be aware of the things that, you're hanging on to. And the other part of this, though, too, is no matter what kind of confusion you may be dealing with, don't allow it to affect your perception of what happiness, what total and complete happiness looks like to you. In your environment, the lovers has been making an appearance. So you got Pisces and Gemini going on here. The lovers and the Nine of Pentacles being in the environment, I think, for some of you, when it comes to like major relationships, significant relationships here, this is not just about an emotional connection and having somebody understand you. This is really about choosing love in a way where there is no room for temptation to come in. Now, what I'm looking at here, though, is like, I think some of you are finding yourself kind of like on your own, and you may be separating yourself from, relationships that have been emotionally draining, but like those aren't, that's not what you want. Like, I want to flip that back over. Like, that's not what you want. We need to get past that, right? But there's this confusion. And then looking at the Lovers in the environment, it's like, I'm confused as how to get there, because everything that you've been doing before you thought was leading you to that place. Now, the other part of this, though, is it's the union. There's wholeness that is happening here. And this may be something that is happening for you by removing yourself from the situation. It's just you're still leading into a place of like fear and confusion with the moon. Oh boy. Your hopes and your fears, the High Priestess. Can you trust what you feel and what you know to be true? This, in this position, the High Priestess and the hopes and fears, this is questioning your own intuition, and that's like a really like dangerous line to be walking. When you start finding yourself in a place where you can't trust yourself and what you feel and what you know, that can get amplified with the moon, right? That kind of fear and confusion can start to become, more than what it actually is. But be careful about you not trusting yourself. These are just circumstances that happen to show you the contrast. Make sure that you're absolutely clear on what absolute emotional fulfillment looks like to you. Like, I keep feeling like that's the big one here. You may find yourself, kind of doing your own thing with the Nine of Pentacles, but you're secure in yourself, which is great. The problem is like, why? I feel like I'm asking the question, why? Like, I trusted that this situation was going to lead me to this, but, there's the fear there that your intuition is wrong, and that's not it. Like, be careful about that. I really feel like that's a dangerous line. The Ace of Wands in future conditions. The other thing, and this is beautiful, and I can't remember who else I've seen this for, but there is going to be a new opportunity that's going to be happening for you that's going to ignite your passion to act. And this is the new beginning that hopefully is leading to this. But you have to be clear, right? Like, there's like all of this confusion because of past experiences, where you are now, what you thought you felt, and what you knew. The High Priestess, though, the other thing that I want to talk about with this, when we're talking about hidden information becoming, a part of your awareness, right? Because the moon is at her feet. Nothing is hidden from her. She invites you in behind the scenes to see the hidden. It doesn't come from physical evidence. It's coming from within. This may be a fear of, you having to face something that you know to be the truth, that maybe that has been suppressed about the choices that you have made in relationships that have left you empty-handed. And that's only going to be for some of you. But regardless, with the Ace of Wands coming out, the only thing that I worry about here is the attachments that you still have that are going to create, an amplified sense of fear and anxiety that may have an effect on how you take advantage of a new beginning. Now, for some of you, it may be you're finally done here with all of this confusion and not understanding, and you finally get some clarity, especially with High Priestess, right? And you needing to trust it now. And that leading to something completely new for you. The Six of Swords, yeah, with the Eight of Cups, they're hand in hand. The King of Pentacles. And then Strength. And then you have Leo showing up too. So looking at the Six of Swords and with the Eight of Cups, this is, again, it's like, I need to move on from this. And some of you may be in the process of moving away from something that has drained you emotionally. And then with the King of Pentacles here, what I feel like, especially with the Nine of Pentacles being in the present moment, there's always this sense of wisdom and maturity that is gained through the Kings. But this is practical and it's realistic, and it's like, I've gained enough experience now that I know what is worth taking a risk on and what is worth investing into, because we're talking about success with him. Now, some of you may be feeling very successful where you're at right now. A lot of wisdom has been gained, and you know how to continue to create, a constant stream of security and stability. I mean, it's maintained through him. But for some of you, right, because of the Lovers being attached to that in the environment, I look at the King of Pentacles and think, there may be somebody coming along that is going to help kind of like push you into that place of wisdom and understanding. And, again, it's like, is this worth taking a risk on? Now, the other thing with the King of Pentacles is he absolutely has the ability to provide whatever is necessary for something to be successful. So that may be what is coming through here in the present moment. But I'm looking at you being on your own here with the Nine of Pentacles. And then that kind of leads into this feeling of, strength, right? Like, reserving yourself from getting involved with situations that leave you empty-handed. With a new opportunity coming through here, it's like you're not, what I want to say is, because of what you had to move on from, you're not willing to give all of yourself. And I go back to the Four of Pentacles and think about, well, what is it that you're still holding on to? Because there's wisdom coming out of this, right? Now, for some of you, yeah, it could be a person that's coming through that may be providing a sense of strength to you to be able to do something new. But again, the entire focus of this is overall happiness. Your overall happiness, and what does that look like? There's the Ten of Cups and then there's the Nine of Cups when you're talking about having that emotional fulfillment. But the Nine of Cups is more feeling like your wishes have been fulfilled. But the thing is what do you want? What do you want? This is different. It's what does that look like? You can know what you want, but if you can't envision it, how does it become real, right? But either way, we're talking about, this passion and this drive to experience something new after leaving something very difficult and draining. Teach. And, that kind of goes back to wisdom, right? It's like the best way that we relate to each other is by describing our own experiences. And even though they may not look the same, sometimes the underlying current or vibrational emotional feeling is the same. And because of your experiences, you may be able to help somebody else going through the same situation. That's kind of where teach is coming through. Rebirth, which is good to see. And then change. So, right, like when we're talking about wisdom here and teaching, it also could be about you needing to teach yourself to change in order to create this rebirth that you're wanting to see in your own experience, right? Especially for those of you who are looking at relationships. And this isn't, like I said, this isn't the Two of Cups. It's not just about connecting with somebody. This is something so much more significant than that. The energy is gaining momentum. And I feel like two ways about that because of the moon. And then balance spirituality and practicality. So if this energy of, fear and confusion continues to gain momentum, then the balance, I think, is what's going to be important. And again, looking at what you've been holding on to. But wow. Yeah, this one was in depth. But be careful. Just I keep wanting to say, just be careful about amplified fears and anxieties. Because regardless, you have a new beginning. But new beginnings, right, we see them as great because that's what we need. We don't want to stay stagnant in the same situations over and over again, right? But for better or for worse, those aces are all about what you choose to do with them.